Sem v 10. tednu svoje prve nosečnosti in se zanimam za neinvazivni predrojstni test Panorama. Ali mi lahko poveste kaj več o tem testu ter katere bolezni odkriva?
Panorama is a non-invasive prenatal test that analyzes cell-free DNA in your blood and screens for various fetal chromosome abnormalities, including trisomy 21. Now, trisomy means there are 3 copies of the same chromosome. Also trisomy 18, trisomy 13, and monosomy X. Panorama also screens for sex chromosome trisomies, triploidy, and several microdeletion syndromes. The test can be performed as early as 9 weeks gestation.
Kako to, da je Panorama test tako zanesljiv?
Panorama specifically targets single nucleotide polymorphisms, or SNPs. These are small changes in the DNA. Our method sequences and analyzes cell-free DNA in maternal blood, targeting over 13,000 of these SNPs to provide the screening result for the baby. This approach is different than the other NIPT tests because Panorama can uniquely distinguish between maternal and fetal cell-free DNA.
Rekli ste, da je Panorama edini test, ki v krvi matere lahko loči materino zunajcelično DNK od plodove. Zakaj je to tako pomembno?
The ability to distinguish between maternal and fetal cell-free DNA allows Panorama to identify situations that could result in an incorrect result from a different NIPT test. For example, the presence of a vanishing twin or a maternal chromosome issue in triploidy. And our test also provides accuracy in fetal sex calls. As I mentioned before, Panorama can be done as early as 9 weeks gestation. Our test accurately measures and reports fetal fraction. Fetal fraction, what this is the amount of fetal DNA in the sample. So measuring the fetal fraction is important for an accurate NIPT result. This test is appropriate also for all women.
Na spletu sem večkrat zasledila besedo mikrodelecije. Kaj to sploh so in zakaj so tako pomembne?
These are small deletions in a chromosome, microdeletion, which can cause various problems in a person, which are called syndromes. There are many of these microdeletion syndromes. Now, Panorama doesn't screen for all of them. We screen for a select group of microdeletions, 5 of the more common microdeletions. These include DiGeorge syndrome, also called 22q11.2 deletion, Angelman syndrome, Prader-Willi, Credeur-Shaw, and 1p36 deletion. Now, unlike that of a trisomy, where a trisomy, the risk for a trisomy increases with maternal age. With a microdeletion, the risk is independent of maternal age. And they're not as rare as you may think. They're small deletions, but they're not rare. For example, with 22q, this has an incidence of 1 in 2,000. This is more common in cystic fibrosis. And screening for a condition such as 22q is important because it's one of these conditions that may be underdiagnosed or not diagnosed during a pregnancy, or even after the baby is born, it might be missed. And babies with 22q can benefit from early intervention. So again, it's very important to screen for these conditions.
Ali bi bilo smiselno poleg Panorame opraviti še test prenašalstva dednih bolezni Horizon?
Yes, absolutely. Panorama and Horizon can be done together with the same blood draw. Together, these 2 tests can provide you with a more complete picture. Horizon is a test that evaluates whether you and your partner are carriers of a genetic condition. Our most basic panel of Horizon, Horizon 4, screens for 4 conditions, so cystic fibrosis, Fragile X, SMA, and Duchenne muscular dystrophy. If you or your partner are a carrier of the same autosomal recessive condition, for example, cystic fibrosis, you would then have a 25% chance of having a child with this condition. With an X-linked condition, on the other hand, only you would need to be a carrier, not your partner. And when you're a carrier of an X-linked condition, then you have a 50% chance of having a child or a boy affected with the condition, or a 50% chance of maybe having a girl that's only a carrier, like yourself.
Kako se v drugih državah odločajo za kombinacijo obeh testov? Imate kak podatek o tem?
Panorama and Horizon are many times offered together. Doing both tests at the same time can be very helpful. Just making decisions in your pregnancy, right, about whether you're going to do further testing, further diagnostic testing, such as amniocentesis. And with certain conditions, such as Duchenne muscular dystrophy, for example, learning one's carrier status from Horizon, and the fetal gender from Panorama at the same time can be very helpful. as I mentioned before, if you're a carrier of an X-linked condition, specifically Duchenne muscular dystrophy, you have a chance then to have a son that has the condition, a boy that has the condition. So if you had the panorama test done at the same time and you knew the fetal sex, this could be very useful information to you. Horizon carrier screening as a whole, we utilize the latest technology, next generation sequencing, to provide better and more accurate detection rates. The basic Horizon panel screens for 4 conditions, as I mentioned: cystic fibrosis, which you may have heard of. It's a multi-system disorder that affects primarily the lungs, and there's a reduced lifespan with this condition. Fragile X is the most common inherited form of intellectual disability. SMA, spinal muscular atrophy, is a disease that leads to muscle weakness and respiratory issues. And with this condition, it's the most common genetic cause of death in infancy. And then Duchenne muscular dystrophy, another excellent condition, is a progressive degeneration of skeletal muscles. This condition also has a reduced lifespan. So you take the information you get from a Horizon test, the risk for inherited disease, and the information you get from Panorama, the risk for chromosome abnormality in your baby. And together, this provides you with more information about your pregnancy.
Najlepša hvala za odgovore.
You're very welcome.